This message is for all of us as humans. Take some time to slow down. Take some time to integrate. It's really easy to start picking up with speed more than what's healthy and more than what's necessary. We are going too fast in our society. The real flex these days is slowing down and coming into stillness. I'm becoming more and more convinced, the more patients I work with, the more things I observe and see with myself too, that as unintegrated experiences in your life stack up, it creates an incredibly unstable foundation in your nervous system and in your body. And that is where illness tends to creep in. That is where disturbance tends to creep in. That is where lack of clarity can really live, because we're creating a really big gap between what's happening in your field around you and what your nervous system can handle. So I've tended to see that you can only go as fast as your nervous system will allow. Sometimes that can go really quickly, and sometimes you need to incredibly reduce the pace of the experiences that you're stacking up. You need to slow down. The way I see it is, maybe you only have so much fishing line on your reel, and the further and further you cast out into the stream, out into the river of life, you want to make sure you still have some line wrapped around your reel. And what I've been seeing in our society is the need for peak experiences is really high. And I'm not saying they're good or bad or anything like that. I'm just saying there's this ravenous hunger to connect to the greater cosmos, to connect to the world around us. And sometimes we're taking really, really big leaps to try and do that. The bigger the leap at times, the more line you've got out, or if you're flying a kite, the more line you're letting out. And what I've been seeing with patients, with people in society at times, is that they've let out so much line, there's barely any left on the spool. And if that runs all the way out, that part of their system can drift a long ways away and they've lost connection inside. So when we have different experiences in life, when we've been triggered, when there's traumas and woundings and hurt, the more quickly we can work on processing and healing and integrating that unprocessed material, it brings us back to ourselves. It brings us back to the ground inside, and then we become grounded. And when we have a healthy, grounded system, our organs function better, our circulation is better, our heart rhythm is more in tune, it's more coherent. And everything that we engage in life becomes smooth and in flow. There's a saying I've heard that the Navy SEALs have, that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And I've taken that into my own life because I can tell when I get busy and I can lose sight of the bigger picture of what direction am I going in? Where am I headed with all this energy? And I'll get excited, but I start to look at, is this actually the direction I need to be pointing my vitality in? And so I start slowing down, smoothing things out, recalibrate, redirect as needed, and then I can find, there's that steady rhythm again. And the way I can tell that is I don't feel stressed, I'm sleeping well, I'm eating well, I feel strong and healthy in my body, and I have lots of energy to direct to the things that light up my heart. But when I'm doing things that light up my heart and I'm starting to feel fatigued, I know I've gotten off track somewhere, and it's likely because I started moving too quickly. I got caught up in my own ideas, my own excitement, or the people around me, the world around me. And then I start to have that string go too far away from my body and from my core. And so in coming back into my core, I reroute and I ground and I feel more stability. So sometimes what I'm observing in others is they have a peak experience and it's not fully integrated, and another one, and another one, and another one, and there can start to be a big gap that forms in the energetic aura of the body and also within the physical voltage of the system. The cells start getting depleted, the organs stop being able to connect and communicate in a way that is healthy for the system, and they can start to drift. We see it. You can see the drift happening in somebody's system, but we don't always feel it ourselves. And I've experienced this, that I may have drifted quite a ways away from my system and from my core. And in that gap, there's all kinds of chaos and drama that can happen. So when we're regularly integrating all experiences of our lives, even little ones, and I believe we need to slow down in order to integrate fully. When you just touch in a quick skip, you're not really deeply connecting and creating that the necessary healthy body friction in your system. What do I mean by that? Where there's enough contact with your own heart that you remain aware of what's true for you at your deepest levels of guidance, your deepest intuition, your deepest heart's knowing. Because that quick skip, like a rock skipping across the water, it only touches down for a second. There's not enough time to download or integrate those experiences fully into the nervous system. And again, that's where the gap can start to show up. And illness can start to show up in those places. All the unintegrated parts of our system and our bodies, it can become a real challenge. And if you have that over a long period of time, sometimes it's really hard to navigate back at all fully. And those people that I see, it's challenging. There can be a lost soul in there, for lack of a better term. And helping them come back into their bodies fully is a real task and takes some time. So this message is for all of us as humans. Take some time to slow down. Take some time to integrate. It's really easy to start picking up with speed more than what's healthy and more than what's necessary. And you may have all kinds of material in your system that needs to be addressed when you're going really quickly that you're not even aware of. And I actually believe this is one of the reasons that in my own life, I've refused to slow down at different times in the past, or I've seen that with the world around me, the people around me, is because that material might be painful, or it might be really hard to look at. It might be difficult to go there. And so it's easier to just avoid it, to stuff it down, to push it off to the side and keep going for the peak experiences elsewhere, through people, through experiences, through adrenaline, through all kinds of things that sometimes actually have a tendency to take us out of our body to avoid the very things that we need to address the most. And so when we slow down, there might be, and especially if you haven't done this for a long time, there might be a decent stack of material that you now need to work through. And to give yourself patience, to be compassionate with yourself, that if you slow down, it doesn't mean you're on the wrong track when you start to feel grief, anger, all kinds of different emotions that hit the surface. It's just that now your body's saying, hey, we got to integrate this stuff. We've got to work with it. We can't keep stuffing this down deeper in the body. It's time to put it in process. And for that, sometimes you just have to sit with it. You got to sit with the pain. You got to sit with your grief. You have to sit with whatever the wounding is that maybe you visited upon somebody else, your own grief, your own shame, any number of those things, really evaluating and taking stock of your own behavior. How are you living your life? Because you can speak about many, many different things, but it doesn't mean it's actually showing up in the body and showing up in your actions. And again, I'm continuously calling myself out with this in my own life. And I have really beautiful, amazing humans close to me that truth is very important to them. And they will call things out if they see me being less than clear, untruthful, starting to slip, starting to create gaps in my own nervous system of things that I'm not fully seeing, not because I want to, but because I'm human and that happens. So having really healthy, accurate reflection to illuminate patterns that might be alive in my system that are not as fully healthy and expressed as they could be, then I have, one of my best friends that may offer some beautiful reflection, and I can do that for them as well, saying, hey, I feel like it's possible you've gotten off track a little bit in this element of your life. And they might say, oh my goodness, I didn't see that, thank you. And the amount of times I've had really amazing humans love me enough to illuminate those things in my life for me, even if it's painful to hear, even if it's challenging. But whatever that stack is that I've had built up, it needs to be addressed and worked on. And that is actually what allows us to make quantum leaps and massive, real grounded progress in our health, in our nervous systems, and in our lives. And the way that you can tell that's happening in your life is you start to see things get a little bit easier. I'm not saying always easy. That's not the reality necessarily, but that dreams and goals and manifestations that you've really been working towards, they start to happen. And they start to happen with less effort. You stop fighting your own BS. You stop fighting your own shadow frequencies that may come up. And you start getting more into your gifting level frequencies, and that starts becoming your new baseline. And of all the things I've done in my life, the things that help me slow down have been the most valuable to allow me to come into deep contact with what's true inside. One of those is breathing and just taking a deep breath more regularly every day. And as we create a practice of deep breathing and slowing down, when you can go through your day in that type of rhythm and that type of pace where you're at your own true rhythm, your own authentic expression, all kinds of synchronicities happen, all kinds of magic happens, and the people and the places and the things that you've been really wanting to connect with, it starts showing up. And it's almost like it just shows up just like completely natural, just like the seasonal changes that you enter into a beautiful season of abundance or a beautiful season of deep contemplation and integration. But you got to slow down to listen. You got to slow down to actually catch that energy within your body to transform it into a really good way, into a really clear energy, a refined energy, where that fuel source in your body becomes really pure. And as humans, we contain a lot of complexity. So if you're with me on this, take some time and slow down. Give yourself permission to look at that deep stack of unintegrated material. I promise you it'll be worth it, no matter how difficult it is. Stay with it. You will feel like a new human as you unpack that. Get support, get therapy, work on your somatic body, get into breath work, get into a meditation practice, drink really clean water, eat clean food, all the things we know of that we don't necessarily do. But when you slow down into your body, your nervous system starts to relax. You might have areas of your psyche and your old memories start to surface again, and you might need help with that. You might need support with these places. So build a team around you to support your greatest expression. It's time. We all have a responsibility to ourselves and our community to take stock of our lives so that we're in our full destiny, that we're in our dharma, and we can see the potential of humanity transform into tangible action and change, and we can enjoy the process.